Welcome to 843 TV. I'm your host, Wayne Morris with WHHI TV.
And I'm your host, Carrie Manning with the Village Spa.
And today we have a special treat. It's an all Spring Island panel, and we are coming to you from one of the nicer homes you'll ever be in. It's a home for sale here on Spring Island, and we're going to talk about that in the show later on. But our first guest
is Miss Alice Reid. She is a resident here on Spring Island, and she's here just to give you a sense of community, talk a little bit about her transition here, her transition within the community, and what drew her here to Spring Island.
Our second guest is Ed Swift. Ed is a former sports writer, and he is a part-time resident. He's going to talk to us about how that works, being a part-time resident here on Spring Island, and all the great things that him and his family love to do when they're in town.
And then last but not least, we have Mr. John Strothers. He's a broker in charge here on Spring Island Realty, and he's going to be showcasing this amazing house that we're standing in right now. And he's also going to showcase another home site, which is always another beautiful piece of property. So make sure that you stay tuned for more 843 TV,
where communities come to speak.
843 TV, where Bluffton comes to speak.
Where Spring Island comes to speak.
Where Hilton Head Island comes to speak.
Where Port Royal comes to speak.
.843 TV,
where communities come to speak.
Welcome to 843 TV. We're here today with Miss Alice Reid. She is a resident here on Spring Island. Thank you for being with us this morning.
Thank you.
So tell everybody, first of all, where'd you guys come from and what brought you all here to Spring Island?
Well, we came from Maryland. We had a small horse farm up there, and we had also had a place on Kiowa because we wanted a nice warm place in the wintertime to play golf. Mm-hmm. And we were looking for something with more of a community and more nature-oriented. We found Spring Island. We came here.
That definitely covers those bases, yes, for sure. Yes.
Well, I understand that y'all put your farm in a conservation easement. Is that attachment to nature or respecting nature, is that what brought y'all to Spring Island?
Yes. Where we lived was suddenly having some development pressure. Some people were using that as a place to live and commute into Baltimore. And we were worried about what it was going to do to the countryside. Mm-hmm. So in the early 80s, we and some of our neighbors put our property in a conservation easement.
Wow, that's early. I mean,
yes.
Not many people were doing it during that time.
Yes, it was
So does that protect that forever?
Forever, yes. Oh. So when we sold our property, the people that bought it can never develop it. We could have originally had 4 houses on the property, but now it will only be 1 house on that property forever on 22 acres.
More people need to do that.
Well, that's yeah, well, they are. Ace Basin, so many people are putting their land in conservation easements.
It's wonderful, and of course Spring Island has done it as well with our conservation easements.
Yeah, I think we have 1,200 acres there.
And we get to enjoy it.
Yeah.
We use the trails and so forth.
And that was really, we were talking before we filmed, where you moved from when you had your vacation home in Kiowa and you moved here. Just tell us what are some of the differences between the two communities and what makes this place so special?
Well, first of all, the community. When we were living in a resort, and the feeling of community wasn't really there for us. When we got here, we were just welcomed by other members and really felt like we were part of a community. Mm-hmm. And of course, the way that the nature has been preserved here meant a whole lot to us.
Yeah, that's a big component here.
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
So when you did move down here, did you buy a home? Did you build? Did you come down in stages?
We bought property in 2005, and my husband was still working at the time, and we decided, well, we'll take our time. But then we immediately built our guest cottage in our garage because we thought, well, we might as well enjoy it while we're here. And then my husband decided it was a good idea to retire and come here. So we built our main house 3 years later, and we moved here permanently then.
Well, now that you are here permanently, how do you spend your days? How do you fill your time?
Well, I play and I do some volunteer work. Playing, I run, I play golf, I do some art stuff, basket weaving, ceramics. I think that's all the fun stuff. Oh, no, the most fun stuff I do is play bridge.
Okay.
That's one of my favorite pastimes here. And then I volunteer in several different areas. One is bluebird monitoring. There are 270, I think, bluebird houses on Spring Island, and there are over 50 monitors, and we go around and we check the bluebird houses and see who's laid eggs and check as they fledge and so forth. And it's really interesting. It's starting right now for this year. We have all the houses, and first the chickadees come in and lay their eggs, and the bluebirds come in and lay their eggs. And we keep track of that and share that with the Cornell School of Ornithology. And I'm also one of we're called chicken tenders. We have laying hens. We have 32 laying hens here. This is a new project on Spring Island, and we take care of them. We feed them and make sure they have water and clean up after them. And so this is a new project that we take turns. Each of us takes a week.
Well, rumor
taking
has
care
it
of
you
them.
have a pretty fancy little chicken
You
coop.
must come see the chicken. We have several different varieties of chickens, and they're very friendly. They're so used to people that when you come to visit them, they come running over to greet you. It's really quite fun.
Now, do you have your horses here?
I don't have horses here anymore. I do some horseback riding, but I'm not going to have horses anymore. As they say, don't have a hobby that you have to feed when you're sleeping.
I would agree with that.
I'm always amazed every time we come here that there's like a new activity that's so unique that we hadn't heard of the time before. Do the residents, start these clubs and these activities like the bluebird monitoring, or is that something Spring Island provides you with, or how does that originate?
Usually the residents start pretty much everything. For instance, the bluebird monitoring started in the early 90s.
Okay.
So, and it's grown from just a few houses to almost 300.
Wow.
And over 50 volunteers work on it.
It would take that many to cover them all.
It does. It does take a little time, but it's really very interesting to see how they do that. And it makes you really feel part of nature when you're visiting their houses and peeking inside and counting the eggs and so forth. And with the chickens, again, one of the residents got started and got the little chicks and raised them in her garage until we built their Taj Mahal. We also have a Waterfall Farm, which is like a garden, a vegetable garden. Wow. And I go once a week and weed, and we also pick. And most of that food goes to the kitchen and to the residents. And then we also open it up for our employees at the end of the season.
Nice.
So we share with them.
That's
as well.
great.
Yeah.
Well, not even living here, because we've been coming up here for several months now, and no longer than we spend here. Once a week, we come in, and there is just there's a wonderful, warm feeling that everybody in here is so happy and so nice, and it's like you're all one big happy family.
Well, one of the things that the developers did when they first built Spring Island was they put our mail, we have a mail room. So we don't have mail delivery. So we all have to go to the mail room to collect our mail. So we see each other. So there are so many times when instead of just by yourself going to get your mail or putting your garbage can out at the end of your driveway, you have to go someplace and you'll run into each other at these different places.
I think that's important.
We've heard that.
I think
Yes, that is very neat.
Center.
Big meeting place, yes, and also the cookies.
That always helps.
Yes.
Well, thank you very much for being with us, and make sure that you come right back for more 843 TV.